So we're going to pick up where we left off from last time. We're at Genesis 14. About this time, a war broke out in the region. King Araphel of Babylon, King Arash of Eliezer, King Kedorlaomer of Elam, and King Tidal of Goyim fought against King Bera of Sodom, King Birsha of Gomorrah, King Sheba of Adam, King Shemeber of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, also called Zor. The second group of kings joined the forces of the Sidon Valley, that is the Dead Sea, and in 12 years they had been subject to the king Kedorlaomer, but in the 13 years they rebelled against him. A year later, Kedorlaomer and his allies arrived to defeat the Rephaites at Ashtarosh Camir, and the Zutites at Ham, and the Emites at Sheva Kamoth, and Horites at Mount Seir, as far as El Pen, at the edge of the wilderness. Then they turned back and came to En Mishpat, now called Kadesh, and conquered all the territories of the Amalekites and all the Amorites living in Hazazon Tamar. Then the rebel of King Sodom and Gomorrah, Ada, Zeboim, and Bela, also called Zor, prepared for battle in the valley of the Dead Sea. They fought against King Kedorlaomer. Was it again? Kedorlaomer of the of Elam, and King Tidal of Goyim, King Araphel of Babylon, and King Arash of Eliezer, the 4 kings against 5. As it happened, the valley of the Dead Sea was filled with tar pits, and as the army of the king of Sodom and Gomorrah fled, some fell into the tar pits, while the rest escaped into the mountains. The victorious invaders then plundered Sodom and Gomorrah and headed home, taking with them all the spoils of the war and the food for supplies. They also captured Lot, Abram's nephew, who lived in Sodom, and carried everything he owned. But one of Lot's men escaped and reported everything to Abram, the Hebrew, who was living near the oak grove belonging to Mamre, the Amorites. Mamre and his relatives Eshcol and Ener, and Abram's allies. When Abram heard that his nephew Lot had been captured, he mobilized 318 trained men who had been born into his household. Then he pursued Kedorlaomer's army until he caught up with them at Dan. There he divided his men and attacked during the night. Kedorlaomer's army fled, but Abram chased them as far as Horeb, north of Damascus. Abram recovered all the goods that had been taken and brought back his nephew Lot and his possessions and all the women and the other captives. After Abram returned from his victory over Kedorlaomer and all of his allies, the king of Sodom went out to meet him in the valley of Sheva, the king's valley. And Melchizedek, the king of Salem, who was the priest of the Most High God, brought Abram some bread and wine. Melchizedek blessed Abram with this blessing: Blessed be Abram by the Most High God, creator of heaven and earth, and blessed be the Most High God who has defeated your enemies for you. Then Abram gave Melchizedek 1/10 of the goods he had recovered. The king of Sodom said to Abram, Give back my people who were captured, but you may keep for yourself all the goods you have recovered. Abram replied to the king of Sodom, I solemnly swear to the Lord, the Most High Creator of heaven and earth, that I will not take as much as a single thread or a sandal thong that belongs to you. Otherwise, you might say, I am the one who made Abram rich. I will accept only what my young warriors have already eaten, and I request that you give a fair share of goods to my allies, Aner, Ashkel, and Ammer. Now we're going to go to the next chapter, which is going to be Genesis 15. Sometime later, the Lord spoke to Abram in a vision, saying to him, Do not be afraid, Abram, for I will protect you, and I will reward you. Your reward will be great. But Abram replied, O sovereign Lord, what good are my blessings when I don't even have a son? Since you've given me no children, Eliezer of Damascus, a servant in my household, will inherit my wealth. You have given me no descendants of my own, so one of my servants will be my heirs. Then the Lord said to him, No, your servant will not be your heir, for you will have a son of your own, and he will be your heir. Then the Lord took Abram outside, and he said to him, Look up at the sky and count the stars, if you can. This is how many descendants you will have. And Abram believed in the Lord, and the Lord counted him as righteous because of his faith. Then the Lord told him, I am the Lord who brought you out of Ur of the Chaldeans to give you this land as your possession. But Abram replied, O sovereign Lord, how can I be sure I will actually possess it? Then the Lord told him, Bring me a 3-year-old heifer, a 3-year-old female goat, a 3-year-old ram, a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. So Abram presented all of these to him and killed them. Then he cut each animal down the middle and laid them in halves, side by side. He did not, however, cut the birds in half. Some vultures had swooped down and ate the carcasses, but Abram chased them away. As the sun was going down, Abram fell into a deep sleep, and a terrifying darkness came over him. Then the Lord said to Abram, you can be sure that your descendants will be strangers in a foreign land. There they will be oppressed as slaves for 400 years. But I will punish the nation that enslaves them, and in the end they will come away with great wealth. As for you, you will die in peace and buried at a ripe old age. After 4 generations, your descendants will return here to this land, for the sins of the Amorites do not yet warrant their destruction. After the sun went down, a darkness fell, and Abram saw smoke in a fire pit and flaming torch pass between the half of the carcasses. So the Lord made a covenant with Abram that day, and said, I have given this land to your descendants, from all the way to the borders of Egypt to the great Euphrates River, and the land now occupied by the Canaanites, Kenizzites, Cadermites, Hittites, Perizzites, Raphamites, Amorites, Canaanites, Jebusites, and Jebusites. And that is going to be the end for today. And that was Genesis 15:21. Thank you.